Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for a couple of exciting announcements surrounding our IMSA Green program and the Green Racing protocols. With us up here at the table, we have our IMSA President, Scott Atherton, and from the EPA, Carl Simon. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Atherton for some remarks.
Well, thank you, Greg. We're going to jump right into it, and I would again express our welcome. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We know it's a busy day, a very compressed weekend for those of us at IMSA, but we're going to move quickly. Our announcement today, as Greg has said, is about IMSA Green, but the reality is we could easily describe this as we're getting the band back together. And what I mean by that is IMSA pioneered the green racing movement back in the early 2000s. We were actually the first, and I think really the only sanctioning body to forge meaningful working relationships with the United States Department of Energy and the Environmental Protection Agency, as well as SAE International, Society of Automotive Engineers. The 2019 version of IMSA Green maintains our alliance with these governmental agencies and entails a multi-year, multifaceted set of initiatives that will touch almost every aspect of the operations of our organization, both on and off the track, making IMSA a leader in reducing the environmental impact of our sport. As has happened already, I want to draw your attention to Carl Simon. He's the long title here, so bear with me. Carl is the Director of the Transportation and Climate Division of the Office of Transportation and Air Quality at the EPA. Now, Carl joins me here today as we announce an extension of our affiliation with the EPA, as well as SAE International. Now, we'll hear from Carl in a few minutes. Our past relationship with the Department of Energy is equally important, and we expect to confirm their involvement with our group again. The gears of bureaucracy move slowly. Not everybody is as effective as Carl of getting things done. So watch this space, but we're confident the DOE will be joining us in the very near future. Here's a problem. Pages have been put in the book upside down. And unless you want me to stand on my head and read this, give me a moment. So, IMSA Green will substantially reduce our carbon footprint through a coordinated approach that will address both on and off initiatives that I talked about. It begins now, but it continues for the next several seasons, really infinity in terms of that. Besides the collaboration among the governmental agencies that I spoke of, we will also be working very closely with our official partners at Michelin and our fuel partner, VP. By continuing our pursuit of the already established green racing protocols that were actually written by the SAE back in 2008, and then they were revised in 2014, this new IMSA Green program is expanding to reduce carbon emissions and overall reduce our environmental footprint. We will do this to the greatest extent possible, but do it in a reasonable, attainable fashion. We are proud to be the only motorsports organization, the only sanctioning body to have the relationships that we have with the EPA and the DOE. These are the same agencies that work with our OEM partners. They work with them on regulatory and compliance issues as well as technology development. Now, to put that comment into perspective, if you go back to the last event where we had the full field involvement, it was Mid-Ohio last month. We had 19 manufacturers involved with 31 different vehicle models represented. That's a combination of both the WeatherTech Championship as well as the Michelin Pilot Challenge. We don't take the OEM investments in IMSA for granted. We certainly understand how significant they are. And with this announcement today, we feel like we are proactively taking steps to keep IMSA's racing relevant, and by working together with our OEM partners, the EPA and the DOE, we will craft together the future regulations of this sport. For OEMs, what do they get out of this? For OEMs and the governmental agencies, IMSA offers a ready-made fan base to showcase green technologies and the transfer of technology from race car to road car, tech transfer. All of this being done in a very high profile, very exciting setting. The old adage of seeing is believing really can apply to all involved here. And our goal is to take consumer apprehension over some of these new technologies, combine that with education, with demonstration, and ultimately turn that apprehension into consumer acceptance. And really, the ultimate goal is demand. We believe that the relationship that IMSA has with the EPA and the DOE will only become more valuable in the years to come. As many of you know, we are currently working very actively on the next generation of technical regulations for the Daytona Prototype International, the DPI. That new car will begin competing with the start of the 2022 season. We can confirm, if you've been following the reports, it's not news, but for the record, we can confirm that the engines that will power that next generation prototype will be hybrid power. IMSA is working with our current and interested OEM partners and also with input and insight from the EPA and the DOE to finalize those regulations. We believe that the introduction of the 2022 DPI will help us become the first racing series to achieve the Green Racing Cup status as defined by those green racing protocols from SAE. We were able to achieve the Green Challenge status, and we had an 8-year run back starting with the America Le Mans Series and continuing through into the WeatherTech Championship before the fuel regulations changed. That was back in 2016 when we moved to the more global formula, the fuel mix that is used at Le Mans and the WEC, the E20 that we have today. So since that time, we've been striving to get back not only to that Green Challenge status, but we believe that effective with the 2022 prototype, we'll be able to hit that Green Cup, which would be the highest level of green racing as defined by those protocols. Now, on the subject of tires, we could not be happier with how things have gone so far in this first year of what is a very long-term relationship with our official tire supplier, Michelin. No tire company has a more significant commitment to environmental responsibility or a better grasp on what it takes to be involved in the actual reduction of tire consumption. Working together with Michelin, we intend to reduce our tire use with the goal of achieving a level of reduction that delivers an environmental benefit that would be equal to, if not greater than, the carbon footprint that occurs from our weekend on-track activities. That's a lofty goal, but all involved believe that it's possible. Now, speaking of fuel, in future seasons, we will work together, again with our OEM partners, the EPA and the DOE, as well as our official fuel supplier, VP, with the goal of showcasing an advanced fuel that will feature a higher level of octane, most likely an increased amount of renewable content, the combination of which will result in a fuel that reduces the carbon emissions, it increases the octane, and thereby increasing the performance of our cars as well. This is something that will effectively foreshadow the fuels that we will all be using in the not distant future in our consumer vehicles. So again, as IMSA led with such things as zero sulfur clean diesel, cellulosic E85, the vision of this collaboration is to repeat that as we look forward. In terms of off-track initiatives, IMSA has become an affiliate of the EPA's SmartWay program. The SmartWay program assists companies in implementing more efficient transport modes, performance-enhancing equipment for both tractors and trailers, as well as operational strategies that make them more efficient. As an official SmartWay affiliate, we're going to lead by example to start with, but also be able to share this information with our stakeholders, with our teams, encourage them to adopt the same protocols, and realize the benefit that comes from that. Our teams, our partners, and the environment will all benefit from the increased fuel efficiency that comes with the adoption of these protocols. Now, we've got a paddock full of some of the most exciting, high-impact transporters, tractor-trailer rigs imaginable, and that's good for everybody in that that's what comes back to the SmartWay folks. They will benefit from the awareness that we will provide, with our teams, IMSA's transporters, what the effect of these events that we have on site, as well as on the road, crisscrossing North America. Other initiatives will extend into IMSA's paddock and our on-track operations as well. We will be exploring the implementation of solar power solutions to offset what is today a more traditional source of power. This could take many forms. It could be the showcasing of our manufacturer's hybrid and fully electric vehicles for hot lap and pace car duties. One initiative that's a pet peeve of mine is to work towards the elimination of the small electrical generators that are immediately across from each of our pit boxes, powering the laptops and the TV screens. You can understand where our focus is when we talk about such initiatives. We're also in the process of working with our partners at TCR to bring the eTCR platform into IMSA. There's also a group that's quietly working, but aggressively so, on the potential of an IMSA e-prototype series. More details on both of those examples in the near future. So, what's all this mean? IMSA Green represents a long-term set of meaningful initiatives that are all focused, in general, on reducing our environmental impact, and more specifically, on reducing our carbon footprint. The alliance that we have with the EPA, the DOE, and SAE International, that reaffirms something that we consider to be most valuable. It's one of our most valuable collaborations, and the benefit of us working together will benefit all involved. So I thank you again for taking time to join us on, again, what we know is a very busy day. And at this time, I'd like to invite Carl Simon, with a long title, to say a few words on behalf of the EPA. Carl?
Thank you, Scott. And I'll have a long title, but I'll have a short amount of words here because I think, Scott, your remarks really summed up the partnership that we have and the program and the goals that we have for taking this next round in this initiative. We're really excited about working with the group here, and Scott, with your team and the IMSA folks, as well as your partners, the race teams and Michelin and other partners here, to really think about what this next level of sustainability in the series will look like. We think of this program, and we've been, as Scott said, from day one, a really, I think, enthusiastic partner in terms of the goals of this program and the work that we're doing together. There's three things that we take out of this that we think that can come out of this program. One would be reduced air pollution, not only from thinking about what the footprint of the race series is, but also thinking about the vehicles and how we get that technology that's being proven every race into the marketplace, because at the end of the day, what matters to us is public health and clean air, and having people can buy and use and operate those cleaner technology vehicles is a benefit for everybody. The second one is reducing fuel use, improving efficiency in the vehicles. That has a number of benefits, including reduced carbon footprint, thinking about what that looks like and trying to provide, again, information out into the marketplace. We think that working with the IMSA Green Racing Series and our partners at DOE and SAE can really make a difference in terms of educating folks to make purchase decisions that will really help drive some of that beneficial behavior. And then the last one, and one that's kind of new for us, I think, in this partnership, but we're excited about, is the off-track activities that Scott mentioned, including we're really happy and pleased for IMSA to be a SmartWay affiliate for our program. That successful program for us has thousands of partners across the country that help work and really improve freight efficiency. The protocols are associated with that, the reporting obligations, the best practices, all of those things. IMSA can really help us improve on that as well, and we're looking forward to working with their partners to measuring, benchmarking, and improving efficiency across the transportation sector of the race program. As we look at the pace of change in technology in the auto industry today, programs like these partnerships are really important because they can help get the word out and get education out faster than we can through regulatory activities or other things that are in our toolbox at EPA. And it really helps to highlight those practices both on the track and off the track that can help make a difference, both big and small. So we're excited about what the next steps of the program are going to be. We don't know what they're going to be, but we have good partners to figure out what those are going to be and educate us, and look forward to what the next 5 years plus will bring to us. So thank you for that, and we appreciate the opportunity to be part of this activity, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. We'll open it up to questions now. If you have a gentleman will bring a microphone over right down here in the front with John.
Scott, do we have a specific timeline on the targeted reduction of tire usage and the introduction of alternative fuel, or however you would want to call that?
As for tires, there is no specific calendar. We are working very closely with Michelin, including this weekend. We've had conversations about it. It's early days in their experience. In some cases, this weekend's a perfect example. They've never been on this track before. There's never been an opportunity because the GTLM cars have not participated here in recent times. So there's a lot of learning that's still taking place. Make no question that the commitment's there, and as my comments referenced, we are of a shared single mind in terms of the goal. So no specific on the timeline, but it will absolutely happen. It'll be good for the environment. It'll be good for our teams because, candidly, it will reduce their budgets. And it's a leadership by example. Fuel. It's going to depend on when the next generation consumer fuel becomes a commitment and a plan. We actually have meetings set up next month, knowing that we're on the last days of May here, but in June, to, for the first time, sit down with our partners to define that. Ideally, it would be in line with the introduction of the next generation DPI. Today, that sounds really aggressive. And Simon Hodgson in the back room is going to be shaking his head, no, we can't do that. And I wouldn't argue with him. So that's more of a longer term. Think about the introduction of a new consumer fuel and the ramifications of that on the scale that it would require. So don't want to be elusive in not answering your questions, but what we're announcing today is the fact that IMSA, the EPA, the DOE, and SAE International are going to be working together on all of these initiatives. They will come to fruition, and I would say in both of the examples you just asked about, the sooner the better.
And do you envision some kind of competition-based challenge like we've seen in the past of awarding efficient cars on track?
Yes. Yeah, the DPI will be, the DPI 2.0, as we loosely describe it these days, will be no different than today in that each manufacturer involved will bring their own technology to the drivetrain. The specifics on our hybridization of that are still to be defined, but the whole goal of the green racing protocols is to identify the most efficient example, just as was the case with the Green Challenge. If we're able to achieve Green Cup status, it just takes it to a different level, more sophisticated, more efficient.
So it'd be focused on the DPI class instead of like what GTLM was in the past?
Not necessarily. That's just that the timing of the introduction of this would be aligned with that.
How does with regards to IMSA's carbon footprint, what's the split between how much the carbon produced by the teams in the series as they travel around and run on track versus the spectators that show up at every race? And because I know with a lot of sports, it's actually the people driving to the track that are most of the carbon. Are there plans to try and reduce that carbon impact as well as from the traveling circus?
Yeah, we've actually had those conversations before when we were in that pioneering phase of our involvement with the EPA and DOE. We talked about free parking if you show up, with a carpool, a car load rather than two people in a Suburban. It's a great reminder that you raise that it goes well beyond what we're doing. We want to be seen as a leader and to be leading by example. But to your point, the fact that most of us flew here on an airplane is, as I understand it, one of the most significant examples of carbon emissions. But it doesn't mean that what we're doing here and the initiatives that we're announcing are not important. So I think what you're suggesting is a revisit and a refocus on how our fans come and go to these races and the impact that they can have as well. Great reminder.
Any other questions? Jonathan again.
Yeah, with regards to the generators at the track, I don't know what your relationship's like with Formula E, but they have Jennies at the track, obviously, but they run them all on glycerol, which is all biofuel, which seems to be a carbon neutral way of doing that. Is that something you might consider?
Yes, and we're going to attend our first Formula E race later this year. They've set some great examples, and that's one of the best ones. I think they all sat and drank some of that fuel just to demonstrate, how truly clean it is. I don't know that I'd sign up for that, but okay. But yeah, that you're hitting on exactly the initiatives that we are going to be tackling in terms of the off track. So it's not only the small, compact generators that are running the team pit boxes, but it's also some of the larger examples, backup power for our television broadcasts. In some cases, it's powering our own office trailers and the like. There are several different fuel descriptions, and for us to mandate what type of generators we have, some of it comes down to availability because those are sourced in each market we go to. But you're hitting on exactly the off-track initiatives that we will pursue.
And I have to say, I just think, I'd like to give credit to the IMSA and to the race partners for the vision to the sustainability that they have and they're trying to achieve. I think we'll have a number of questions as well too as we go forward in this and look for areas where we can find benefits, both great and small. But it's the platform and the opportunity to have that conversation is really, I think, beneficial, and we'll learn as we go along and find those areas where we can make a difference.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? All right, Scott, Carl, thank you for your time. We're going to take some pictures here. I'll turn it over to Mike.
I'm good. You want to get these?
Slide these over.